Jaffa Smith said Firefly was when things really came together. But how does it hold up today? Find out on R. Sinclair, episode 83. Hi, everybody. Welcome to R. Sinclair. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Firefly.
Ooh, I love that show.
Yeah, unfortunately, not based on the show. Aaron, before we start, we need to give shout-outs to Clive's Club, the group that picks these games for us. Big props to Richard Goulstone, Paul Harrington, McChessers, Jed Byrne, Justin Tinpot Gamer, Orkmeal, and Paul, a.k.a. Hermsky.
Thanks, fellas.
Aaron, today is a special day, a very special day in the world of the Spectrum. It's the year that the Spectrum becomes a man. The Spectrum turns 40 today.
Oh, man. Aaron. That's the year I became a man, too.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, Aaron, 40 years ago today, 1982. What was your knowledge of the Spectrum in 1982?
Not much. I didn't know much about nothing. Let's see, in 82, I would have been 11 years old, both.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know anything more than, let's say, in fact, I didn't even know about the Coco in 82.
Really?
So, yeah, I didn't have any knowledge of the, in fact, I'm trying to think of the first time we heard of the ZX. I guess I would have heard of it on boxes, the backs of some American games that would have a ZX release, you know. But I had no idea what it was really until we started doing this show. I mean, I just had that's not true. I listened to Retro Asylum mentioned it, and I was like, what is this wacky thing? But we never really played anything until we started doing this show.
Yeah, there have been tons of videos, lots of presentations go on. There was a BBC thing, I guess, on BBC This Morning or something like that. Good Morning Limey. I don't know what they call their morning show over there.
I doubt it's that.
But they did a thing on the BBC, the 40th anniversary. Of course, our pal 005 Agama did a special video. I guess Sir Clive's son was speaking at a live streaming event earlier today at the National Museum of Computing.
It's a shame that Sir Clive himself couldn't quite make it to the anniversary.
Yeah,
he just passing away just recently. Yeah.
But of course, lots of people talking about it on our Discord on the R. Sinclair channel. Happy birthday to our little buddy is what I like to think about the old rubber keyed 48 Spectrum.
You know, I'll just if I may pontificate on the Spectrum for a moment. You know, again, having not known much about this before we really got into doing the show. Man, this is one of those great finds you get because the Spectrum has this bottomless barrel of fun that there's always something to be pulled out of. I mean, we've done these shows for a while now, but you know, between this and doing streams, just playing on our own time, I found so many fun games and a lot of stuff you don't normally expect to see a game made out of. Or things are just wacky, and sometimes even the really bad games are sort of fun or just stupid enough to amuse you. You know, it's a lot of fun. It's the computer. What it reminds me of, you know, you had your Atari 2600, right? This reminds me of sort of the computer version of that. The Atari had this endless array of wacky games, some good, some bad. Some people just did basic games on it. Some people really rang out every drop of what it could accomplish. The ZX is very similar.
You know, I agree with you. The advantage that the Spectrum had was, one, the software was incredibly inexpensive.
Yeah.
You know, because it was produced on cassettes. And two, it had a usable keyboard.
Yes.
And so people could play the games and then turn around and make the games. And that was something that the 2600 didn't have.
Yeah, and you've got to give the crew, the Sinclair people, credit when they put this thing out because they knew what they wanted, a cheap, super duper cheap machine that they could sell to everyone, and that's what made this thing a star because everyone could program on it, everyone could use it, everyone could play with it, everyone could load the tapes for it. So you've got everyone on board, and when you've got everyone on board, everyone pulling together, you get a lot of action. That's what
right.
They got.
That's right. And I want to give a special shout out to our Discord member Will Brooker, who has compiled all of the media mentions of the 40th anniversary of the ZX Spectrum and posted a handy sheet of links on our Discord. So if you're a member of our Amigos Retro Gaming Discord, which you can be if you support our Sinclair on Patreon, you can read through all of these at your leisure.
Yeah.
So good work, Will, and thank you very much for doing that.
Thanks,
Aaron, I can think of no better way to celebrate the 40th birthday of the Spectrum than to talk about this week's game, Firefly.
Yes, sir. I agree with you on that one. So now, Bo, I ask you this almost every week, but is this one you'd heard of before we tackle it this week?
Never. I thought that this was a game. I knew it wasn't based on the show, but I figured that it was going to be some sort of a shoot 'em up type game, just by the name.
So this released well into the game, Bo, 1988 on this. That's way into the game. And published by Ocean, created by Jonathan M. Smith, Jaffa Smith, as you mentioned in your open. Boy, Jaffa's done about 1 million things every year.
I'd say that he is sort of the if the ZX Spectrum has a saint other than Clive Sinclair, the patron saint of the ZX Spectrum is Jaffa Smith.
We've covered a couple of his games, including Daley Thompson. We looked at, I think we did Batman. He's done a bunch of stuff, tons and tons of games. And I read that he thought this was his top game.
Yeah, he said that this was really where he thought everything came together right.
Yeah. The loading screen was done by Karen Davies. I looked up some of Karen's work, and amongst the things were Incoming Forces, Revolution X, Striker 95, Hudson Hawk, RoboCop 2. So a lot of stuff there. And the audio, Keith Tinman, who worked on, he did a lot of the audio that Jaffa worked on. So these are the guys, or these are folks responsible for putting this one out. This is a one-player game. This originally released on cassette for £8 or disc for £15. I actually saw some people selling the wacky disc that this came on.
The micro drive.
The micro drive discs, and was that shows you the time it was released, where that stuff was even available to have a game on.
Right.
So, with all that said, what is this game? This is a game where there are certain facets to this game, Bode. You pilot a ship, and when you start the game, there's sort of, I guess you would call it an overworld map or an overview of the galaxy, or whatever. Is that the best way to describe it?
Yeah, let's give a quick overview about what this game is.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so this is an overhead shooter in which you're trying to negotiate a path through it's not hex-based, it's square-based, but if you picture a hex-based map in your head and just make this hex of squares, you can understand what I'm talking about. You move from zone to zone, and it's a combination shooting, collecting, and luck-based game.
Yes. I'm glad you said that. And you have to work your way from one side of this map to the other, the overhead map. And to do that, you enter a world of your choice. And when you go there and defeat everything in that world, you have filled in that area, and you can move to the next block towards the right.
Well, what you have to do is you have to energize all of the. You have to go into. There are squares.
Yes.
Okay. And imagine a square that pulsates and sends out bad guys and egg yolks. Okay.
Egg yolks.
Okay. And so what you have to do is you have to avoid the bad things that get shot out of these squares and collect the egg yolks. Okay. When you collect 4 egg yolks from one of these points, you hover over the top of the square, and then you get sent into another screen in which you see a thumbs up and a thumbs down. Now, if you read the docs, they call these things all kinds of crazy sci-fi words.
Yes.
Okay.
They really cover their tracks on this one.
But what this is a thumbs up and a thumbs down.
Yes.
And the thumbs up and thumbs down alternate between the two choices, and you have to stop it when the thumbs up is lit up. Okay.
It's the old no whammy.
It's the old no whammy routine, right? And so as you traverse through each level, you have to energize. You have to make all of these things thumbs up. Okay. And there's 4 or 5 depending on what stage you're in. And then once you do that for all 4 of the things, you can move on to the next stage.
Yes. Let's just cut to it. I didn't like that. I didn't like the thumb. There were several times in this game the thumbs up, thumbs down element is revealed, and I didn't like any of them because it's not the hardest random baloney in the game. It's the second hardest, but it's still hard. And also, if you don't get it, you have to go and do it again. It's a real pain in the butt.
Right. Now, this game is interesting because as you fly around, you see all matter of enemies they're just sort of floating in space, and these enemies don't always pursue you. They sort of go about their business in some cases, but sometimes they come after you. They're very interestingly drawn. This game is a mostly monochrome game. The exception being your ship, which is a blue color and has a red flame shooting out of the back. Or red and orange. The flame is probably the most colorful thing in the game.
Yeah.
And the gimmick in this is that you have a certain amount of shots that you can fire, and as you and your shots actually surround your ship in sort of a halo. Okay, so if you can imagine like the ring around a planet or something, you've got 8 or 9 shots that are constantly circling you, and as you shoot your gun, those shots disappear from your halo.
It's pretty cool.
It's a neat effect. Yeah. It's totally pointless.
It's also, it clutters. This game is very cluttery.
Yeah.
By the way, I was just looking here. The egg yolks are called Zokas.
Of course they are.
Zokas boat. Yeah. That's why I couldn't remember either. I had it written down. Listen, we'll cut to the chase here. This game has your ship in various mazes or geometric shapes doing the job here on getting these 4 collectors set up. Now, some of these areas are inaccessible, and so occasionally you have to go into a teleporter. Then you go into another form of baloney, which has the ship spin around a while, and you have to hit the button when a certain color dot's lit up.
Right. So I think there's blue dots and there's purple dots.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to, as your ship goes around, this is exactly like you might see at a carnival or a modern arcade where it's a redemption game, where you're going around and around in a circle. Your ship is actually spinning like the Wheel of Fortune.
Yes.
And you have to stop your ship. And the first time that you do it, it's pretty slow, and then it gets faster and faster, and your ship reverses direction around the wheel each time.
Yes.
And so that is, so basically to advance in this game, to move your way across the overworld, you have to be successful in negotiating what are essentially luck-based activities.
Yeah, and this one I found even much harder than the the normal thumbs up or down. And and when you don't get it right, it just kicks you back out, and you gotta wait and do it again. This game is a paradox for me. It's parts of it I think are really interesting. Listen, the ship looks good. The enemies look good. The maps and stuff are interesting. The overall goal is it's an interesting way to do it. Okay, the controls feel tight. Okay. On the flip side, there's so much crap on the screen. Some of it you want to collect, some of it you got to avoid. Always coming out. Okay, and so that gets irritating. It's hard to differentiate what you're doing, and then to fight and be thwarted by something as simple as a thumbs up, thumbs down, or hitting the wrong button on a color spin is irritating. Let's be honest here. I don't understand why you would put together an engine of this quality and then put those elements in the game. Is it just me?
Well, let me tell you about what I like about this game and what I don't.
Okay, please.
Okay. This game probably has, I'm a big fan of this genre. I like an overhead shooter. I like a Sinistar. I like a Time Pilot.
Yeah.
What's the other Draconian?
Yeah.
What's the game that's actually based on Bosconian? I like all those games.
Yeah.
So I'm conditioned to like this sort of game more than a side-scrolling shooter like a Blood Money or something like that. So I was already in the mood to like this game, and what made me like it even more is that each one of these stages are very inventive in the way that they're laid out. You see, this is one of these games where the top 2/3 of the screen is your playing space, and the bottom third of the screen you have all of your gauges. Okay, so on the left side of the screen you have something that I do not understand at all. It almost looks like a horizon checker, like if you were playing a first-person game.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it does stuff.
Yeah, as you fly around, it moves, and I think that that's its purpose. It just looks cool. Okay, but then you have a shield detector, and you've got what's the other thing? I can't think of what the other thing is on there.
The other thing, I don't know.
You've got 2 gauges. I think one is your fuel and one is your shield.
Yeah.
Okay. Then in the middle of the screen you have your radar. You have an overhead map of the stage.
Yeah.
So this is what I love about this game, is that you can't get lost. It's impossible to get lost
Yes.
because you always know, you see the flashing squares on your overhead map, and that tells you where your energy points are.
And the
that you
radar,
need to
the
unlock.
radar works great.
Yeah, the radar is great.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on the right side of the screen, you have your score, and then you have 4 empty squares. And as you as you collect the egg yolks, or whatever they're actually called, the Zookas, those 4 squares fill up, and that lets you know it's okay. You can go and you can land on this energy thing, and you can do the thumbs up, thumbs down game. Okay. I love everything about this. This game gives you exactly what information you need. It lays out the goal, even the overhead. It makes it very clear. You need to make it from the left side over to the right side in this special square.
Yes.
This game turns... This game... I don't think I've ever been as let down by a Speccy game as I have been on this, because I like everything about this except for all of the luck-based stuff.
Yeah.
If they could patch out the luck-based stuff, this game would be one of the all-time classics. It really would be.
It seems lazy. Why not have a little boss battle or something in there that you did?
Right.
Or why not just let you turn the color when you've got enough yolks?
I understand why you'd want to artificially increase the playtime, and this definitely does that, because there are definitely times I would go on streaks where I would be like, I think I've got this down. I would get it. But what it all, I mean, it's a coin flip. When you get to that the next, because there's usually 4. I think sometimes there's more. But on the opening stages, at least, there's always 4 of these energy points. The first 2 are slow enough to where you can get it. But the last 2, I mean, it's literally a coin flip whether you get it or not.
Yeah. I agree. I think there's a little bit too much chasing you. But you're right. If they're going for sort of a Sinistar thing, that's exactly what Sinistar had going.
Mm-hmm.
This is real close up. I wouldn't have been hurt if they would have pulled the camera back a little bit so you could see more of the screen, but it's not a deal. None of the stuff I've mentioned is a deal breaker, except for my hatred of the gimmick, the thumbs up. And also, there's when you're going on the overhead map, occasionally, as we're looking at it right now, you'll get to this thing where you have a long streak of these thumbs up, and they can screw you.
Yep.
You can go all the way back.
Now, what I will say is that the game does allow you to retry these things, more than once if you fail, but it does take your energy. Whenever you fail a thumbs up, thumbs down, it takes your energy. So you don't just get unlimited tries. It's a really tough thing for me to talk, to give this game a ringing endorsement. I will say that I tried this on original Spectrum hardware. I got out the 48K.
Oh, did you?
I got out the Div MC feature, and I plugged it into my CRT, the PAL CRT that I paid megabucks for. And I fired this up just to see if I could do the thumbs up, thumbs down, but I wanted to eliminate any signs of lag that I could have.
Did it help?
It didn't help at all.
I didn't think it
didn't help at all. I also tried the Commodore 64 version of this game.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know if you have a port comparison.
I do actually.
But this game is one of the games that I believe you should, if you can only play this on one platform, you should go for the C64 version for the exact reason that you mentioned. There is more color, which gives your enemies more definition. Things don't get lost in the shuffle as much. And I believe the screen is pulled back just a little bit more on the C64 version. It's a little bit easier to play. So if you can only choose one version, I would go for the C64 version. But, there's not mega differences in the gameplay between. They run at the same speed. Everything is pretty much the same.
The same stupid elements are there.
The same stupid
So
elements
that right there is no good. This baffles me because it's on top. Let's pretend that they keep the thumbs up, thumbs down. Just even the graphics on that screen look dumb.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, maybe they had something planned to go there, and they just did the space. They ran out of time, because that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you go through all this fighting and stuff. I mean, this is one of the most all-time baffling segments of a game we've ever played.
Yeah.
I'm say that with totally knowing what I mean,
right? Because
we played a lot of games. But when you have a game that has the kind of quality that this does, and you get to that point, you're just like, what in God's name is this?
Mm-hmm.
Not to harp on and on about it, but it's a big deal.
It's a big deal because it's clear that so much work went into from the level design to the graphics to the sound effects. Everything is top notch on the Spectrum. I mean, this is a later release for the Spectrum. People always get mad when we talk about 88 as being late in the game, because I mean, it really wasn't in the Spectrum's lifetime. There were people into the 90s that were still going hard at this. But I mean, we definitely hit sort of the sweet spot in terms of where people were really figuring out how to make this hardware sing.
Yeah.
And so this game comes so close to greatness. If they would have replaced those, like you said, with a boss battle, man, you'd really have something there.
What I would have liked to have seen, is take a game. In fact, it would take very little to change. Make this game almost like a cross between Bosconian and that game for the Atari Dreadnought, where you go into these huge mazes and you're going into a space station or something, and you're knocking out these power points to blow it up.
Right.
And then put a countdown up, and you've got to escape before the countdown runs out. There's your game.
There's your game right there. That's
and
all
that
you have to do.
would be so much more fun.
In fact, you could do that. I mean, happy coding. Listen up, okay? Here's what I want you to do.
For another one?
That's right. All you'd have to do, take out the luck stuff. Just cut it out of the code. I'm sure it's easy. Just delete a couple lines. And then just put a timer on the screen and put an exit on the map. That's it.
John
Make it
Schaller,
happen. Listen,
expert programmer.
I know how easy it is to be a coder.
Yeah, that's why you're so renowned for your coding.
That's right. That's right.
But I mean, we just came out of the top of our head.
Yeah.
And you got something, and you get rid of and something else. We talked about how you can, on certain areas of the overworld screen, you can go to a point where you just get screwed. You go all the way back. It's horrible. Okay. The neat thing about the overworld screen is as you finish it, it looks at the path you took. Because you could choose your own path, and you get bonus scoring based on that path, which is cool. I like that too. There's a lot to like here. I think this looks better. It looks better to me than the C64 version. It may not play as well, but it looks nice. It's crisp. The gimmick with the satellites, the shots that rotate around your ship is cool.
Yeah.
It's super cool. It doesn't need to be there, but it's cool.
It's cool. And I like stuff that doesn't need to be there, but just looks cool.
And the fact that you've got a game that has a great radar. How many games have we played that the radar's butt? A lot.
Right. Most of them.
This one has top shelf radar. It's got extra baloney at the bottom you don't even need. Plus, it's got all the stuff going on. I mean, clearly, Jaffa's a genius, super genius.
Yeah.
If only I would have foregone the balls. I would have foregone the interesting doodad in the corner just to make the other parts less lame. There you go.
Yeah.
I did look up a few integral parts of this to see how, in terms of how it did. The Crash March of '88 gave this a 92% vote. They loved it.
Yeah, well,
R. Sinclair 9 out of 10. The Games Machine 9 out of 10 as well. It was a Crash Smash as well. It was a Your Sinclair Mega Game, and it was a Sinclair User Classic. So it swept the board vote in terms of its reception. Did we get any hot Discord action on this one?
Yes.
I figured we might.
We're going to start things off with the boss man.
Oh, dear.
Paul Harrington. He says, my retro gaming time is restricted to playing on the RG351 whilst a baby sleeps on me. Paul's a baby daddy.
I understand. Well done, right. Paul, yes.
He says, Firefly lasted about 60 seconds. I didn't like the way the ship maneuvered. It was hard to tell what was or wasn't an enemy, and I sucked at the weird rotating minigame. Not a game for me. And he says, after reading all the other glowing reviews, I decided to give it another chance. Still nope. Horses for courses. Tin Pot Gamer writes, Firefly has been one of my favorite Spectrum games since I first played it in 1991. Presentation is great with 2 rocking tunes on the title screen, but sadly no 128K in-game music. High-res graphics, some showy flourishes like particle explosions and the ammo circling the Firefly, and thankfully, a clear minimap all contribute to a good-looking game. The action runs quickly and smoothly, but can get tough to navigate on certain maps with tight, crowded corridors which end up being brutal on the higher levels. Note, display lag under emulation can make timing the rotating minigames tougher than on real hardware with a CRT. A thoughtful space shooter that's highly challenging but still possible to beat, 9 out of 10.
Oh wow, glowing.
That's right. Will Brooker writes, Firefly was released too late for me to have played it on its release. So this was my first encounter with the game decades later. After a few evenings, I've been astonished by how much I'm enjoying it. Usually Spectrum games come loaded with nostalgia for me, but I was seeing this fresh and cold without rose-tinted goggles, and it brings back some of the magic of playing in my bedroom in the mid-'80s. On a technical level, it's extremely accomplished with a slick front end and groovy theme tune, very neat navigational maps, rewarding warps and teleports and graphics that manage to be hectic, clean, and colorful with minimal clash. I particularly like the flames boosting from the back of your cute cyan ship and the magenta pulse of an engine in the center of the craft. The soundcraft is similarly manic but also works well. You soon recognize the spot effect that signals when your ship has collected enough yokas to enter the energy point, so you don't need to check the display. Stylistically, Firefly confirms the long-term influence of Ultimate. This could also be a fourth Jetman adventure, with minigame aspects that reminded me of Cosmic Wart Toad. Frankly,
wow, me too.
Frankie Goes to Hollywood and RoboCop. But what I liked most was the sense of immersion in a fun, fantasy, science fiction universe where you learn the rules as you go along. The HUD has no labels, so you have to work it out yourself, along with how to operate a teleport and navigate the map. Frustrating but addictive in the best tradition of the ZX Spectrum, and to quote from Blade Runner, reaction time is a factor in this, so please pay attention.
Well, there you go.
Jed Byrne writes, there is something very unspectrum-like about this game. There's lots of sound, and the chrome and central sprite make it feel colorful, especially the engine flare. With the smooth scrolling in minigames, it feels like an Andrew Braybook game, a cross between Paradroid and Uridium. The presentation is slick and the level designs varied. The randomized game grid stops replays from getting repetitive, and continued play reveals new depths. Unfortunately, the game falls short of perfection because of a lack of balance. The minigames are more luck than skill, and the different power-ups are too inconsistent to be useful. It can be frustrating to clear 3 energy points with shields intact only to die because of a streak of bad luck on the teleporter. It wouldn't be so bad if you could do something to recharge your shields, but there is no reliable way to earn the energy drops. These things could so easily be fixed. A great game with potential to be even better, 9 out of 10. Steve writes, at first glance, Firefly looks a little like the C64 classic Hunter's Moon from '87. It does have similar mechanics, but more frantic in gameplay. The graphics are nice, and the small amounts of color on the player's ship help enhance the otherwise monochrome play area. The increasing speed of the minigames makes success dependent more on luck than skill. Perhaps the old standby of making a game overly difficult is a route to longevity, but limits the fun or increases the frustration. This came out after I'd moved on from the Speccy, but had it been a few years earlier, I'm sure I would have enjoyed it more than today. 7 out of 10. Jigglebox writes, wow, this game was long after my Spectrum years, and it shows how well developers were able to maximize its capabilities. Great music and sound effects, whizzy graphics and physics, and pretty good gameplay. I think, like others, the luck factor is a bit of a flaw. Is it luck? Or perhaps you need to use the Force. I certainly found I was overthinking the timing of the button press element. Sometimes better to close your eyes, relax, and go with the flow. A good game, but in the world of pick up and play for a short time, it's just too much to cope with. 8 out of 10. Z9K9 writes, it repeatedly drew me back in with style and graceful movement. The visual effect of your encircling bullet stock adds greatly to the flowing sensation. But this smooth trucking jars with the tense, jittery precision required by the coin flip and roulette wheel subgames. Recalling their origins in gambling, it's almost a knowing exploration of the role of luck in games. As the subgames get faster, they veer further and further into the uncomfortable zone of outcomes. But perhaps the most irritating randomness is the inconsistent omittance of the yokas from the energy points. Late in the game, being whittled down by hordes of bullet spam while you helplessly loiter around the increasingly stingy energy points that refuse to cough up the resources you need to enter them, games tend to end on a sour note. I was rarely motivated to jump back into the same level immediately after dying, a sign I didn't feel like it was my fault. There's no strategic way around any of this stuff. You can't see a level before entering it from the grid, so an opportunity to make meaningful choices was lost there. And using the blue arrow squares to rearrange the grid couldn't have been a deliberate way to build yourself a safer path, but despite looking like another timing subgame with the stopping order, therefore outcome is truly random, all is luck, 5 out of 10. And finally,
wow.
Not finally, Pajako writes, I tried to get into this one and played it for a few times, and while it runs smoothly, looks great, and has that classic Speccy sound, hearing folks raving about it on the Game of the Month chat, I was quite intrigued, but I just couldn't get into it. I found the constant onslaught of enemies and the luck elements of the skill games a little too irritating. was trying to figure out what was going on in the game and actually had to look at the instructions. To say they are vague is an understatement.
Yes.
So sadly, this one isn't for me, but I think a lot of other folks might really enjoy this one. 6 out of 10. And finally, Paul, aka Hermsky, writes, Intrusion alert, a Herm firm, happy 40th to the Spectrum community. Let's keep it alive for many more years to come. So, a review. This was a review magnet, Aaron.
This has got to be the most we've ever gotten for one game on any of our shows. I mean, that
Yeah.
was a lot of reviews. Listen, it's a game. It's easy to jump into. There's a lot of good things to say about it. It is what it is. I did look this up on the eBay. I was surprised, Boat. Saw the tape sell for $27. I was surprised, and I
Yeah.
saw the discs. People were wanting ludicrous money. I found a disc complete in box sold for $53.
Okay.
I saw one guy begging you to buy it for $195. It's a U.S. dollar, so that not pounds. Big money. I don't know. I have to look see if we've got this one in our collection. We've got so many tapes brought everywhere. I have to go look.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got them all cataloged, but I don't know.
In fact, I'm currently looking on how to display these things. But yeah, this is one that's worth your look, but know what you're getting into because you're going to get to some points where you get aggravated.
That's right.
I guess the most I can say about it, Boaster.
Well, Aaron, we're going to leave Firefly behind. It's time to bid a fond farewell. Listeners, we want to hear your feedback, obviously. Just listen to those reviews.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way, for all that interest.
Please leave us a comment on YouTube. If you could leave us a review on iTunes. We did get an iTunes review this week, Aaron.
Beautiful. What we got?
This comes to us from KHISANTH. No idea how to say that. Via Apple Podcasts over in Great Britain.
Mm-hmm.
He says, as a Brit, it's great to get different perspectives on things like the Sinclair Spectrum. Love these guys' enthusiasm, knowledge, and views. They do their research, which really helps. Big thumbs up. So thank you. And if you haven't reviewed us on iTunes or on Apple Podcasts, if you could take 2 seconds and do that, that really helps kind of push us up through the rankings there. And it helps more people find out about our Sinclair, so we'd appreciate it.
Tune us up, brother.
That's right. We do release this show in both audio podcast and video form on our Amigos Retro Gaming YouTube channel. So feel free to look at us if you want to look at us rather than just listen to us.
It's an interesting way to put that, Boat.
And, we do this show monthly, but if we can get to $200 a month of Patreon support, we will turn this bad boy into a weekly show. So if you're interested in helping make that happen, go on over to patreon.com/OurSinclair. We're inching ever closer week by week. And that leads us to our Sinclair supporter roll call, Aaron. We want to thank Wanderly Chesum, Chartel, Jigglebox, David Terrace, Andrew Waite, Eric Nelson, Captain Crispy, Laurent Giroux, Mark Downey, Peter Mulholland, Chris Folds, Mark Durham, Mitsuyama, and Pixels at Dawn. Thank you so much. In addition to Clive's Club for supporting our Sinclair.
Thanks, y'all.
If you like our format and you want to hear more, feel free and check out our other shows. We've got Amigos, Everything Amiga. We've got the Coco Show. We've got a show all about the Atari ST, 1200 XL, and Atari 8-bit show, and of course, the best show on the network, according to more than one YouTube commenter.
Yeah.
ARG Presents, where Aaron and the Brent spin the wheel and make the deal every single week.
They were mostly talking about me.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course.
And I'm thinking how good it'd be if I didn't have to drag Brent around like a chain around my back.
That's true. You'd be free.
That's true.
Aaron, what are we going to play next time on our Sinclair?
Well, let's take a look, Vote.
Bam.
It's Spy Hunter. That's the Spy Hunter theme.
Spy Hunter.
You didn't recognize that
Well,
theme?
it's funny, Aaron. We're playing the Spy Hunter theme in the Winfield Middle School Jazz Band right now.
There you go.
So this is a classic, a stone cold classic. I can't wait to see how the Spectrum port stacks up against the arcade original.
Absolutely. That'll be fun.
All right. It's time to get on it. Make sure that if you're a member of our Discord community, play the game, leave us another review. We love those reviews, guys. Keep those reviews coming. We'll read it on the air next time. Thank you guys so much. And rewind tape.
And press play.